All right, we'll move along. Are you ready
For what? For what, Jack?
for my rant? For my rant on the Sixers?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So last night, the Sixers and Celtics played a great basketball game, which ended with a Jason Tatum 3 and then a Joel Embiid full court heave, which obviously you should count that. Like, if it's with .2 over the clock and he makes a full court shot, like, just play into overtime. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Anyways, the Sixers end up losing the game. So now is my time to rag on the Sixers. Last night was a microcosm of what the Philadelphia Sixers are. You'll and all of Philly will hang around all year long and all through the first round of the playoffs saying, we're a great team. We can get to the finals. We're as good as these teams. James Harden's playing the best basketball he's played in years. Joel Embiid is the best player in the NBA. We've got more depth than we've ever had. But what we saw last night is exactly why the Sixers will not go past the second round of the playoffs like they do every year. Because it's the little things, it's the very little things that just continue to repeat. And it's the fact that the game is made up of such small margins. And while you have the best player in probably every series except the Bucks in the Eastern Conference, and while you do have a deeper team than you normally do, it's the fact that, like, these mini margins are what separates good from great in the playoffs, and Doc Rivers is still your coach. And Joel Embiid is still the feature player down the stretch, and we've just seen in the playoffs that does not function well. And it's because while James Harden's playing the best basketball over the last 3 years, in the playoffs, he does not play at a different level. He actually plays at a lesser level. And it's because of all these little things, the Doc Rivers, and it's just the little margins that the Sixers don't have, which is why in a 7-game series, when the series is separated by literally 1 or 2 plays, it's why the Sixers are always on the wrong side of things. And it's why that'll continue this year. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's just a realization of this is how it goes.
I'm not going to respond by going on a huge fuck you rant that the Sixers are definitively coming out of the East, the best team in the East, because at that, like, I've been doing that for years, right? And at some point,
and that stick ain't working anymore.
It just gets fucking exhausting, right? And it gets hard to defend after a while. The reality of the fact is that, in my opinion, Joel Embiid has been the runner-up for MVP in the last 2 years. Should have probably been the MVP in both, depending on who you ask. And he's playing it somehow better than he was in each of the previous 2 years. Whether it's he's taken that step mentally, I don't know. But he is somehow exceeding every year. And in my opinion, again, Joel Embiid, when Kevin Durant's healthy, is the third best player in the NBA, and when he's not, he's the second best behind Giannis and the most dominant. And I'm not going to sit here and try and argue at this point that the Sixers deserve to be talked about as favorites ahead of Boston, ahead of Milwaukee, because again, after these 5 years, whatever it's been, Boston and Milwaukee have earned their right to be there, and like you do have to earn that right to say that you're the kings of the East. But I think everyone's in agreement that the East, the per team coming out of the East, is Boston, Milwaukee, or Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, if you're going to put them third in that, fine, whatever. It'll come down to matchups. But where you lose me on that margin thing is that if you look in the past 5 years, something minuscule, mostly out of the Sixers, or something massive, mostly out of the Sixers' control, has gone horribly fucking wrong in the playoffs to where we're handicapped. It was the Kawhi shot, horribly wrong, like that shot. And
but
then it was
and then
it was the bubble, and Ben Simmons gets hurt, and then it's the Hawks, and Embiid's not healthy going in, and the Ben Simmons collapse. That's the only series I'll say the Hawks. Then Embiid's hurt last year, like Embiid breaks his face the month before. It's like at some point, like if you get me a healthy team going into it, then we'll see. Right,
but that's the thing. It's you always make fun of the Cowboys, right? Whose law is it?
Yeah,
is
no,
it Mr.
for
Murphy?
sure. Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
it's totally applicable to the Sixers as well. I'm not saying that it's not, and you can make fun of the Sixers and have a full podium to stand on and the right to do so. It is totally the case with the Cowboys than it is the Eagles. The only difference is the Cowboys are America's fucking team, and they have the loudest and the biggest fan base and all this shit, so it brings it way more into a microscope than it does the Sixers. But you're 1,000% correct. It is Murphy's Law with the Sixers, and that's why it's exhausting at this point, is because we know how good Joel is. We know that we have the team around him, and it's just, you feel as if at some point what can go wrong will go wrong, whether it's in your control or not in your control, whether it's injuries, whether it's the Kawhi shot. All we, like, to be, like, genuinely, the thing that I hold on to the most, and it happens, I feel, as if with every single superstar, at some point, Joel, I think, is going to break through and have that dominant playoff run. Whether it leads to a conference finals appearance and a loss there, whether it leads to a finals appearance and a loss there, whether it leads to a championship. Giannis did it. Tatum did it. All these guys do it. And Joel has, unfortunately, either come up short in his early mature years or in recent memory has been hurt during the playoffs, and that's been handicapping him. And I know that's the biggest thing with Embiid is he can't stay healthy, he can't stay on the floor, and whatever. But, like, to say that a broken fucking face isn't bad luck, like, it is. Like, it's bad luck. It's like last night Embiid, after that shot, he was asked, like, about the shot. He said, story of my career. Like, just like it just doesn't work out.
That's depressing.
It was. I woke up to that. It was dark. He said, story of my career. I would genuinely, I've said this to numerous people. After this year, if we don't get out of the second round, if things go just according to plan as they usually do, and what can go wrong will go wrong, I don't blame Embiid for wanting out of Philadelphia. The guy deserves to win. He does. He's so fucking good. And at some point, enough is enough, right? And maybe it's just me itching to get back to the process years, because that was some of the easiest fandom time of my life from a mental sanity standpoint. But, like, at some point, Embiid's going to break through and have that playoff run, because he's too special of a player not to. Whether it's in Philadelphia or not, I don't know. But all I ask is, like, what you've asked for the Ravens is get me healthy going into April and let the cards fall as they will. Like,
yeah,
that's all.
I didn't get that wish granted, so I don't know.
I know you. I've never, and I rarely get that wish granted in the NBA as well. But it's that type of thing. It's just like, give me a clean slate of no bad luck, and let's see what happens. On a more
serious note, though, I think my point is, even if they are healthy, they are still the third best team in the East, and it is a limited margin. But it's these limited margin plays and actions that really freak me out.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue that we're the third best, because again, we haven't earned that right. The Sixers started 12-12, and since then are the best team in the NBA. Like
that's not true though. That's not true. Milwaukee has won 13 consecutive games.
Right, but I'm saying since we started 12-12, we're 27-8. That's the best record in the NBA. That is a fact. Milwaukee is probably the hottest right now. We won 5 straight going into last night before Boston, and then previously that we were 18-5 and 23. Like we've been playing similar to how Boston.
You're playing, but once again, similar. But once again, Milwaukee has won 13 in a row. They're a half game back of Boston, and Boston,
not arguing.
Even with Milwaukee winning 13 in a row, is still ahead of them, which makes those two teams the best in basketball. Even if you guys started 12-12 and your ass, and you can't beat the Knicks,